Hi everybody, welcome back to another weekly market review for F45 trading. This week we're going to discuss the week of Monday, October 14th to Friday, October 18th. So just looking at the markets, we'll get into the economic calendar here in a second, but obviously we had some pretty big slides on the US dollar last week. We've just now opened up Sunday, and you can see Sunday's candle is reversing some of the gains that or some of the losses that it had given up on Friday. And I'm expecting further upside on the US dollar for Sunday, Monday potentially. Now, I'm going to just flip over the economic calendar real quick. Obviously, we've got a banking holiday for the yen on Sunday at the time of this recording, and then Monday, which is tomorrow, is a bank holiday for the US and for the Canadian dollar. So just keep that in mind. It might be a little bit on the quieter side, especially some of those three pairs until until the holidays subside and everyone gets back to work on Tuesday morning. But you can see there still is some high impact news events for the Australian dollar and the yen going into Monday evening. So keep an eye on that. I won't be discussing any Australian dollar charts today, but I will be discussing that more so in depth later in the week. Going into Tuesday, we've got Governor Carney speaking to start off the early London Open session at 4:30 a.m. and then some medium impact news events for the euro. More pound news events, and then US dollar with a couple of speakers. Just keep an eye this week. There are several FOMC speakers all week long. Tuesday and then going into Wednesday, there's a couple, and then a whole bunch of them Thursday and Friday. So just bear that in mind. It could throw a little added volatility into the market unexpectedly. So just keep your eye on the economic calendar throughout the day. Going into Wednesday, Wednesday's your heavy day. We've got a very action-packed news event calendar set up. So we've got starting off with the pound sterling with CPI and PPI input. Meeting minutes going into Canadian dollar, which is early New York Open. Again, CPI, common CPI, medium, trimmed. And then going into the US dollar, we've got high impact core retail sales and retail sales. So this is going to drive the numbers around a little bit. So definitely make sure you keep your eyes out for that one. And then Carney speaking again at 9 a.m. New York time on Wednesday. And then again, we start getting into the FOMC members speaking. We cap off the day with Carney speaking one more time on Wednesday. So Wednesday for the cable, it's going to be pretty action-packed. So I definitely, if you are trading that, keep your trades fairly light. I definitely wouldn't be pressing the envelope too much with them. I would certainly reduce your risk quite a bit. And then going into the evening again with 8:30 p.m. Australian dollar employment and unemployment rates. Thursday, we've got more pound news with a high-impact retail sales and a credit conditions survey. And then Canadian dollar medium impact news event leading right into the Fed Philly manufacturing. So the Fed Philly manufacturing usually gives a pretty good economic update and actually a pretty good liquidity driver. So keep your eye out on Thursday. I would anticipate markets to run right into Thursday New York close. So with obviously high impact news events all throughout the day. And then, of course, these FOMC speakers. And then, of course, late in the morning, we have crude oil inventories. So that's sort of your economic calendar in a nutshell for the week. It's going to be pretty action-packed. I think Monday it's probably going to be a little bit on the slower side. We'll probably see a little bit of retracement on the US dollar, and then going into Tuesday and Wednesday, it's going to start heating up. So we should have a pretty fluid week, hopefully. Now you can see the US dollar. Obviously, we failed. We had created two equal highs up here. I think we're going to go back up here eventually. Everyone's thinking, obviously, this is resistance, and so they're all selling into this and fueling that fire into here. We've sort of hit this low. We've now created two additional, two additional equal lows. This candle in here, this candle coming in here at 97.86, and this candle in here coming in at 97.87. So by 1 pip, it failed to get lower than here. So we've got obvious liquidity sitting down here as well too. But I think what the ultimate play this week is going to be, we've got several levels, and I'll zoom in here just a little bit. This is the 4-hour. So as you can see, we had the failure to get above this high back here last week. 2 weeks ago, and then price sold off considerably. Now, this sort of midweek, early week rally last week was a bit interesting. Price just kind of seemed to sort of come up to an arbitrary location. But if you look at it a little bit closer, you can see how much time they spent in this dealing range right here. They definitely spent a lot of time driving price in and out of this exact level in here. So it's no wonder that there was a reversal right up in here. So keep an eye on that one. But going forward, I think, again, you can see prices jumping right out of the gate, reversing some of the fall off that ensued last Friday. And I think we're going to come up and we'll probably rebalance into this area in here. And this comes in at roughly 97.28 or about 97.30 to the upside. I think we'll easily hit into. We're right now 98.15, so only 15 pips away. So I believe the rest of the Sunday candle and maybe even into Monday we'll probably see price move higher. Now just be careful on this one because there are equal highs right in here that they left, and we do have equal highs up in here. I'm not so worried about these ones up here as long as this area in here doesn't get closed above. They could, and I'll be watching this, they could shoot price up into here on some of those news events that they have on Wednesday and possibly try to run the highs up in here. I don't see that as a real high probability chance, but it is there, so keep your eye on that. If I see any price movement above here, I'll be looking for a quick rejection and then a continuation downwards. But we definitely came in and fulfilled quite a range. We filled a bit of a gap on the 4-hour down here, right in here, so I am anticipating a little bit of price movement higher. How high we get is we'll have to remain to be seen here. But I'm hoping to see some level of quote unquote resistance rate in this range here. So we're watching for price to sort of weaken a bit and then start to resume to the downside. So again, we have equal highs up here, which I think they will eventually come back up to get, but I don't believe it's going to be this week, and we've got equal highs here. And so we'll worry about this one and this one at a later date. I think the intended direction is lower because, again, we still have more lows and more liquidity sitting obviously right down under here and underneath here. So I think what we'll see this week is something sort of like this. And again, depending on how high we want to go, we could see some major resistance at this level in here at 98.30. It could also pop its head above this candle here and then continue to drive lower from there. But this is ultimately what I'm looking for the week's setup. So, and if you go down to a 1 hour, you can see, and we've actually even created a bit of a gap as well too from Sunday's open right here. I fully anticipate them to come back down for this gap this week. So I think the move we're seeing out of the gates is just going to be the false break higher. And again, do we come up and just run these lows? You can really see it on the 1 hour how nice and perfect that setup is right there for a bit of a turtle soup run above and then a drop. So that's really the setup I'll be looking for this week. If it doesn't come to fruition and price starts to challenge this high rate in here, I'm not going to be interested in them reversing course and going lower. If they do breach this high here, then I think it's just an easy, simple trade higher to try to take out these highs. But I honestly believe I believe we're going to see continued downward price. So just watch out for that. Okay. And I think I would imagine, again, Monday and maybe even Tuesday, we could really see price trying to trade up into here, and then hopefully we'll see that reversal happening right around then. Now, those news drivers on Wednesday, there are several of them, so they could even delay that until Wednesday. So just watch the 2 days. If you don't see it happen on Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, then they could shoot it up into that location there. So just keep your eye on that. Going into the euro real quickly, and I'm going to try and keep this video as short as I can. We obviously had the exact opposite happen in the euro. We had some equal highs that I had been looking for to get run out for a couple of weeks finally get tagged And let me zoom in a little bit here. It's finally got tagged right in here that we had 1, 2, 3 equal highs, and they really tagged into it nicely. The next upside liquidity, I believe, is right in this area here. You see all these relative equal highs on the bodies of the candles right in there. Again, I think that's where the intended direction is. With the dollar, and I didn't really talk about this, I apologize, but I believe we'll probably see again, they'll run up into here, tiny, and if you can see that here, little gap. I'm sorry, I'm bouncing back and forth from the euro to the US dollar, but there's a tiny little gap on the daily from the close of this candle to the open of that candle. And again, that's where those equal highs are residing. They could shoot up and again, like I say, grab those and then trade lower. So that's what I am looking for. But ultimately, lower price, I believe, will be down underneath these lows here, which comes in at 97.80 to the downside. So if that pushes through, I believe these areas in here on the euro are the equal corresponding highs to the US dollar's lows. And that could easily come in again at about the 1.1080 to even 1.1100 level, big figures. So, that's about 75 pips away from now, and depending on how much slide we get to the downside on the euro, will obviously add to that. Now, what changes this? So again, very simple. We have some levels underneath here. I believe that this doesn't exist on the US dollar. The US dollar was just straight one-sided price action on Friday, straight down, whereas this really consolidated quite a bit, really took its time. I believe there is a chance we could come back down. You see where I got this area right in here. I think there is a chance we could come and trade down into this area. So I'm going to leave this under here. We have some obvious areas of price where they could come in and clean up. Now they don't have to. So if price fails to get through here, and what they could do is shoot this down and really consolidate it in here and take their time. If you see them going sideways for the next day or so in this area and really creating a very small short range, I believe that's just all anticipating them driving this up one more time. We have equal highs up here, of course, and then those areas at 111 that I was talking about. So if we do, however, start to trade through the 110.10 level that I have here, and I'll just maybe move this down just a little bit, we're going to trade beneath these lows here and possibly rebalance in this range. Okay, so watch for that. If I see price dip down into here, I'll be watching them to fail to go any lower than this area here, about the 109.75 level. I don't want to see them go any lower than that, and then hopefully reject and start to run higher. But this is very efficiently traded in here. Spend a long time in here, so I wouldn't anticipate them going any lower than that. However, again, we do have equal lows right here. They did a great job of coming down to a 109.41 here, and this candle here in at 109 basically 41. So two equal lows there. I don't believe we're going to see them trade below here, but again, if this 109.75 level gets traded through, then that'll be the intended target. Okay, so I'm trying to give you both up and downside targets. Upside, obviously, as I mentioned, right above here, and it just depends on how low they want to go in this priced structure in here. Okay, but again, coming from this low here, they really came down, worked this level quite well all through here, very, very efficiently. So for them to go all the way down here, I don't believe it's just going to be a sweep below and then a run higher. I think if they come all the way down below here, we're going to see a new low coming down this way. Okay, so that's the euro. I'll go down to the 1 hour, and again, you can really see these lows in here nicely, right off the tops of these old highs. So basically just kind of like a breakout retest sort of strategy. But again, I want to see how deep they want to go. If we fail to go below 110.10 and they just kind of chop price in here a little bit, then there's a good chance they're probably just building up longs and then they're going to shoot it higher. Okay. Cable was the winner last week. This thing had some jet fuel behind it. Look at this run, a 500 pip run from the lows on Tuesday, Wednesday to the highs on Friday. Pretty incredible. They were really running price, and look what they did right above those equal highs here and here. Smashed all those shorts. All the bears just got crushed last week. So I hope you weren't on the bear side, and the high came in right above here, and just failing to get above the highs in here. So where do we go this week? Honestly, a lot of stuff with Brexit going on. There's a lot of insinuation that some of the current cabinet members of parliament are trying to block the Brexit deal and trying to prevent it and keep delaying it and pushing it down the road. So it sort of never happens. So how does that affect the price in cable? Really anybody's guess. It's been, I wouldn't necessarily say hard to predict, but they definitely have an intended course in mind. And you look at this, so from low to high, we are definitely at a discount market in here. Like if you had an RSI on your chart, when price is down in here and even up in here, it'd be saying buy now, buy now, buy now because we're going higher. Very possible. This low here, again, this old low back in here got swept a couple of weeks ago, right down in here, and they have not wanted to come back down, albeit one false little rally down here, which failed to get any lower. So again, you know, lots of areas above here. I think a weekly target could be coming back down to these lows in here. So I'm just going to draw this out on the chart right in here, and that comes in at about 128.60 to 128.70. So currently we're at about 126. So we got a couple hundred pips upside if that is their intended direction. Now, looking at this, I'm just going to go down to a 4-hour here. I don't, and again, you can see they're really trying to, they're gapping the open here on the week, and they're driving price down. I don't really want to see them come through this block of price. I think they had the chance to come back down and rebalance this level. I personally would like to see them stay above it. I think they'll probably come down below this low here at 125.80. I think they'll come below that and possibly try to rebalance, you know, somewhere maybe right off of these old highs in here, and potentially we could get a bounce there. If we trade lower than here, I'm not going to anticipate any long ideas on the cable until it gets back above this level. I know it sounds crazy, but you know, I'm not suggesting that this is the top, and I'm certainly not suggesting this is the bottom. But if they trade lower than this, they may just want to come all the way down here, rebalance. Or if you look under here, look at all these lows under here. Look at all those exact even lows. Let me slide this up so you can see it a little bit better. You know, they just briefly took that low there, but they've left all these equal lows under here. So they could leave this for a while and not want to come back to that for any time in the near future. But I want to keep this on the chart just so you know. We hit some major levels up in here, so obviously they're going to be profit taking, and it could push price way back down. But I wanted to see how bullish this is going to be. So I'm going to be watching this area on cable very closely. And again, you know, you just gotta you be very diligent on it. Like if price wants to come and trade any lower than 124.35, I think it's going to be a bit of a crapshoot whether or not they want to shoot this thing back up. Anything above really this blue line, I'd be bullish. Anything below 124.30, you know, 124.35, then we can probably call down here to 123.00 or even 12200. Okay, so cable's a bit of an X factor right now. I think euro is probably going to be a fairly solid setup. I just want to see how low they want to go on this, and then again, cable, I believe we will see lower prices where they want to stop. I don't want to pick the bottom, but I definitely want to watch this area, and hopefully you'll watch it as well too for a potential move above these highs here, and it'll hopefully eclipse this old high from Friday. Okay, and look at Euro GBP. Now this is the thing, is Euro GBP, I had been calling this level on Euro GBP all through this down move in here. We just ran the liquidity out right underneath that low there and rejected in really a slow chop higher, and that's really what attributed to that big down move in cable and fiber basically going sideways. And then we came up, just took out that high, and look at that reaction on there. I mean, just unbelievable. Just 1, 2, down and gone. So again, do we have further downside on Euro GBP? You know, looking at this, if we zoom out a little bit, we've got relative equal lows under here. So if they want to keep remaining bearish, Price is going to start trading into this block of price action here, and I believe this is the target down here. I'm going to drag this out a little bit, and we'll keep that on the charts going forward. And you can see really what we've done. So if you look, and this is obviously going all the way back to June 2017, just took out the high right here. So the premium market has been achieved. They got what they wanted up here, and they've been sliding price ever since. We have not come back down to discount market since early 2019. So I believe, honestly, the intended price direction is a continuation lower on Euro GBP. So if you have lower prices on Euro GBP, that obviously is going to build the case for pound dollar or cable to run higher. And that's really what I'm basing that off of. So, you know, again, just looking at this, I think we're going to see a movement back higher. I'd like to see them get all the way back up into this area in here. This target was achieved down here. I think they're going to probably take some profits and cool price off a bit. I'd like to see a run back up to 88.40 to 88.50. I'll leave it here at 88.40 just to be safe. They could potentially run it all the way up to here as well, though. Okay, so keep your eye on both levels there for a possible upside target on the week. I don't believe we're going to be getting above these highs here. You can see they just took that high out there, turtle soup and down. So I think again it's just more of a continuation breakdown to the discount markets under here, discount price down here. So keep your eye on that. That's what I'm looking for the week. For sure, them taking this low out here. And honestly, I think a good target on Euro GBP could be about the 85.90 level, somewhere right in about here. Yeah, about 85.95 I think would be a good level to be watching. You know what, we could just leave it at 8600 as a potential target. So if we got a good downside movement from these old lows back in here from last week, that could really give a good upside target momentum for the cable. So keep your eye on that. That's what I'm looking for the week. US CAD also another victim of last Friday. Massive sell-off on the US dollar. You can see a big price movement downward. Congratulations to all of those who took part in that move. I did not see this one. Price to me just did not look very efficient and nice to trade in here. So kudos to all of you who got that trade. Again, where do we go from here? We hit an obvious level, target down lower. We're going to see some movement higher. How high does it get? Do we go back above these two equal highs here? I think if price were to get above here, then the US dollar would more than likely probably be trading up into here, and I don't really want to see that. It could certainly happen. They're really moving price early on Sunday. So again, if we get above these areas in here, maybe the high of the week, if they do want to go lower later on, could just eclipse this area in here, and then another, sort of triple top sell-off, and we see price moving lower. That could certainly be an option. And US CAD definitely looks like it's trying to set up for that option, but we're definitely going to have to see it trade through this level, these levels in here, in order for that to happen. So if you see price starting to want to trade up into this level in here, you can easily target these highs up in here for a move up there. But I think we're going to see the market retrace higher on US CAD. And again, an easy target, I think, would be more than likely right around the 132.60 level for upside potential. So who knows, if you like trading against a downward trend, you could certainly look at that as an option. Okay. Finally, wrapping up with crude oil. Now we've got some mixed market sentiment. There was some more bombings, and this one happened to be a tanker, an Iranian tanker, just off the coast of Saudi Arabia, technically. And they were attacked by a missile. What they say was a missile. There's a lot of confusing reports out there as to exactly what's happened. Could have been a mine in the water. Nobody really knows for sure, but it was about 1 million barrels that are spilling into the ocean there now. And so again, terrorist attack, whether or not it was deliberate or again a mine that was sitting in the water that they just accidentally stumbled upon. Nobody's really confirmed that yet. But you can see we have an obvious slide on crude oil here that has really taken the market aside, and they filled this gap in from the bombings in Saudi Arabia's refinery a couple of weeks ago, and sold off. We failed to get below these lows here, this low, and that low, and these lows over here. That's my target to the downside. I don't believe we're going to see price running above here anytime soon. Historically, October, November tends to be very bearish for crude oil. So keep that in mind. I'm not looking for any longs on crude oil. Whatever we do get in the market going long is just going to add for further downside objective. So, again, looking at this, we could come all the way back up and rebalance in this area of price action in here, or this could be the high of the week. But I don't believe we're going to see prices start skyrocketing on crude oil yet. I think they're probably going to be waiting on that. There's a lot of additional inventory right now that's coming online that they're talking about. So that's obviously going to fuel prices lower. And I think this move into here from last week and the week before, or I'm sorry, the last 2 days of last week were just to run stops and to further get better pricing to a discount market. So that's sort of what I'm looking at here. For the rest of the week, further downside objective on crude oil. However, that being said, if we start trading up into this area here, back into this block of price action, just be careful because they may want to shoot it above these equal highs that they have right in here. Okay, so just watch for that. But I'm anticipating further downside. We are very close to this area. We could come up a little bit higher on crude oil, but I think ultimately when we go into the rest of the week, we'll probably be finishing lower. And my target on the week, if we can see some good movement, is going to be the 51, sub 51.50 area is where I'd be looking. So lots of opportunity, I think, on crude oil. And you can see they're starting to slide prices early right now. So we'll see if they want to continue that. Crude oil inventories come out, of course, the middle of the week as well, too. So watch out for those, because it could jar the market a little bit. So I hope you all are successful trading the markets this week. Take it easy. There's lots of news on Wednesday, so make sure you watch out for that. And I'll be back live, of course, for all of our members on for the middle of the week, and posting charts. And I'll be doing another market review again, just like this, next Sunday, talking about the same thing we always talk about. Hope you guys have a great week. Thanks again for watching. Take care.